Hi guys, Sahand here with video number 5, and yes, I'm gonna keep count of the videos from now on because this is kind of my way of showing how I'm spending my quarantine. So yes, for this week I decided to review the Metamorphosis by Kafka, and as you can see I'm on a stroll to read everything from him. And yes, and this is the book, Kafka Metamorphosis, of course. This book has kind of other stories from Kafka, and it's not just Metamorphosis that is included inside of this book. And however, I'm going to only review the 80 pages that was devoted to this specific story, the Metamorphosis that he wrote. Just a quick warning to anyone who is going to read this book or already is in the process of reading it, that this video would contain serious spoilers regarding the ending of the book and the beginning and the middle of the story. And really, if you don't appreciate any kind of spoilers, just click away, just pause the video, finish the book if you have only 10 pages left in it, and just come back to the book review. And I hope you enjoy it that way. So let's get into the review of the book without further ado. And yeah, I guess I would start with spoiling it in 10 seconds. So the story starts with Gregor turning into a bug, which is the metamorphosis that happens in the story. And the attitude of his family towards Gregor goes from fearing to caring to want him out of their lives as soon as possible. And then the biggest spoiler of all, Gregor dies. Like, yeah, he dies out of starvation. The book puts emphasis on two main points. First, the bug life, and second, internal belief. Now let me explain each of them individually to you. The first one I'm just mentioning for the giggles because Kafka goes into excruciating details as to how difficult it is for Gregor to deal with his new bug body. And I don't know if it was only me or what, but during reading this book, I just couldn't stop thinking that how difficult it is for a human being, however impossible it is for a human to actually turn into a bug in real life, to live as a bug. And to be honest, respect for all the bugs out there, because all the shiz that we human beings are putting you guys under, it's unbearable, and I just can say my respects to you all. And I can even remember an episode of the TV show Supernatural being about these creatures that had heads of bugs, and they were living their lives in dumpsters, and they were copulating there, and then of course they were being born as bugs. But yeah, but it was kind of similar, and I had throwbacks to that episode. Now, as for the second part, internal belief, from what I could gather from other readers on the Metamorphosis, was that most of them deemed this work to be the most important work that Kafka ever produced, and even labeled it as the best work of existential literature. And they pointed it specifically towards the problems that individuals oftentimes have while living in a modern society. Now, to relate this book to any existential literature is very much so subjective to the reader. Now, I can see where this existential spin-off could be taken from, and that is from the first few pages, in which Kafka complains on behalf of Gregor, our main character, as to the blandness of his job, and even goes further and explains in a paragraph or two as to how his father created this very formal and disciplined environment in which Kafka, what am I saying? In which Gregor could not express himself as much as he should have been able to. And to be honest, all of these factors can reflect in this kind of disgusted feeling that Gregor had from both himself and his family's attitude towards him. And the aggregate of all of these factors finally reflected itself in this kind of disgusted feeling that Gregor had from both himself and his family's attitude towards him, and resulted as the grand finale to transform his body into a completely different shape, and finally resulted in, spoiler alert, his death. Of this metaphorical environment of the story and the book in general could translate into Gregor's mental health deteriorating to the point that alienated him from society and his family, and in other words, deep depression. Now, at the beginning of his metamorphosis, he seems to have a very basic understanding of how a human feelings such as hunger should feel like, or how his family perceives him to be. But as you move along with reading this book, you will realize that his family doesn't care about him anymore, and they want him out of their life. And Gregor, in turn, does not care about eating anymore, does not care mostly about how his movements might upset his family. And upon the end of the book, you will see this feeling of relief that Gregor's family members have as a result of his starvation, and they can finally look forward to their future without him. At this point, my review of this book has ended. However, I wanted to put your attention towards a different matter. And that is that imagine that I'm a very famous person, and my last words upon my deathbed are hello, just hello. And there will be for sure different interpretations as to the meaning of my last word. And some of them, for example, might be that I'm a religious person, so I was welcoming the afterlife, or that I was staring into the abyss and into the nothingness, and I was kind of relieved of my death, and so on and so forth. However, the real truth behind my last word might have been as simple as me seeing someone that was familiar to me and just said hello and couldn't say the rest because, well, I died. Yeah, I guess the point that I'm trying to get at here is that try to get to your interpretations independent of others' interpretations of the same matter. And if you're reading a book, do not rely on different people's reviews, and produce your own and remain original in what you think of any story and of any narration that you might read. And just think for yourself, and I hope that you will have a wonderful week ahead of you, and stay safe. Have a good day. Bye.